I've got a brilliant tutorial, and we're going to be filling hollow mesh with these small 3mm check beads. This is something that I got at a bead show a while ago, and I just thought they were really cool. They look like stone almost, but they're not. They're just glass. That's basically a sort of faceted matte finish, which I really like. And this tone on tone will just add a huge level of depth and texture to this design for the necklace ropes. For our project today, I've got some jewelry chain. I got this from Jesse James Beads a while ago, but I'm sure you guys probably have some great, beautiful chain laying around that you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, here's your opportunity. All right, and then of course the hollow mesh, which I just talked about. Look at this stuff, yummy, isn't it? Love that color. It looks like iron, even though it's not. And it's a pretty good width. I was able to open up the knit a little bit more to get it even more fat. So like, I think the beads are gonna slide through this very easily. Then we've got some bead caps. So these I have online on my store now. These are Tierra Cast 6mm cord ends. They have a little hole, oops, on top. As you can see, we're gonna be passing our bead stringing wire right through it. We're gonna be using some soft flex tonight, in fact. And we're going to cap off those ends very professionally with this really great end cap. So you can get a set of 2 on my store, SilverSilkOnline.com, right up there. And this, again, is the antique gold color for keeping up with that theme. I've got some decorative beads, including this really great little triangle that I'm going to be using just with the chain. I thought we could do a really fun neck mess today, so I'm going to be making 2 necklaces in a way. So I'm really excited about that because I haven't done really multiple layers of different textures yet. And then I've got 4 decorative beads that are about 6mm. You can really use whatever you want. This is just going to be on the other end of our end cord end there. So you can kind of see and get an idea of what that's going to look like. I've got this really great pendant, again, just came from my stash. 2mm crimps in gold color, just to again follow with that gold, antique gold color theme. And then of course I mentioned the 3mm check glass. I went ahead and pre-strung this because I don't think anybody wants to sit here and really watch me string all these together for a video today. So I kind of pre-strung it in a length of maybe about 10 inches, give or take. This is intended to be maybe a 20 to 24 inch length necklace, so it's going to be relatively close to your neck and not something long and drapey that I would normally try and do. So that pretty much covers our materials for today. Not too many to work with, thank goodness. Just a good mixture there. Tools wise, we got a pair of cutters. I've got a pair of round nose pliers. These are from Weber's. A pair of chain nose pliers. I don't really think I'll need my round nose that I think about it. I don't know if I'll need those or not. We'll see. But I do need my chain nose. And then I have my trusty flat nose pliers. I actually don't think I need those today either. But I'm just going to have them nearby just in case. Probably use them to open up my jump rings if I use any tonight. I don't think I have any for this project. And then I just have the magical crimpers that that'll be used for the soft flex wire. I have got a good question. What size soft flex wire? Good question. So this is the medium bead stringing wire in antique bronze, in vintage bronze. And the medium size is perfect for these check glass beads. They're going to be, I guess the wire's kind of thick enough to make sure it's got nice, strong structure to this entire piece, but it's thin enough to be able to fit through those very small holes. So for most bead stringing, I recommend the medium-sized bead stringing wire from Soft Flex. And you could really get whatever color you want. There's gold that might match better with this project. These were just some scraps that I had, in fact, that I wanted to use up, and they happened to be the length that I needed it to be. So it worked out pretty well. All right, so I am gonna start with a little tip, but what I'm gonna go ahead and start off doing is actually just crimping the ends of this without anything on there except for the beads. This is gonna keep everything nice and together. You can just do an ugly crimp or a flat crimp. It doesn't really matter. We're just using it to kind of hold it in place. You do want it secure, relatively secure, so you should pinch it down to where it's not going to move. And what I'm going to also do is lay it on my table and just make sure that I don't have any gaps, but it does have some flexibility to it. I definitely don't want a stiff necklace on hand here, so like I want it to have motion and fluidity, so I'm just going to kind of lay it down, arch it a little bit, and then just press it all flat. Okay, so now that I know that my strands here are secure, I'm going to go ahead and string my hollow mesh through. I don't think I'll have to run the chopstick through this because I might on this little end here. It's pretty wide to begin with. I had a little dent in there, so I just want to get that out. So how many of you have picked up a chopstick of some sort? Be honest. Got you some takeout, maybe just save them just in case, because you never know when you're going to need them. I feel like every household almost has like a spare pair of like plastic forks and, you know, stuff that you'd get from takeout, and you're like, this I could use on a picnic maybe. I know I've got like a drawer full of plastic utensils, and chopsticks included. Okay, if you've worked with hollow mesh, you know that you can't really just string this right in because you're going to give yourself more work than necessary, because this tends to kind of go all over the place, and you don't have to sit there trying to figure out how to string it right through. Instead, what you should do is just use a crimp and create yourself a nice little round loop here, and that's going to help to guide that wire through the hollow mesh without it getting tangled up. Okay, and again, it is wide enough to go through those beads pretty easily, so I'm just going to let it do its thing. Occasionally, you do have to kind of pull on this to make sure that everything is still kind of nice and loose and able to kind of go through pretty easily. I'm using a slightly longer piece of hematite, so bear with me here as I kind of configure this and get it nice and secure here. We are going to run this through our draw plate after we get it all on here. Perfect. Now, you see how my beads never moved? Well, that's because the crimps held it in place. So now that I have everything together, what I'm going to do is actually just pinch it right up here at the top. That's going to create a nice little pocket. I want it fairly, secure around that crimp, so I just kind of press it through. And then what I'm going to do is actually grab my draw plates. Woo! Drop some pliers there. Do you guys have this on hand yet? If not, you can grab it from Amazon because that's where I grabbed mine from. I'm going to start with the 5.5, I think, and then kind of draw my way down. But basically, this is super easy to use and very handy if you're going to work with hollow mesh for the long haul here. You basically push it right through. I think that's going to be the perfect size, actually, the 5.5. You want to start big because you never really know what size it's going to end up going. But once you pull it through, you see how I have all this extra gap and space between the beads and the chain. And then on this side, when I pull it through, it's just nice and compressed. And that's what we're looking for. Okay, when I get to the end, I can kind of just pinch it around, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut carefully just the chain. I kind of don't want to run all my chain right through it because I can probably repurpose and use that smaller bit for some earrings or something, so I don't really want to go through the entire drop plate with it. So I'm going to save it. Whew. That always scares me because I don't know if I didn't know if I was going to actually take off my wire there or not. Let me see here what the method should be for getting this out. I might have to run it through after all, just because a little piece of wire isn't coming out the way that I wanted it to. That's okay though. Here we go. Okay, so now I could take it out of the crimp. Save that for later. Again, I'm just going to go back in and pinch this. So this is really like the easiest part. Look how cool that texture on texture looks though. Tone on tone, two different textures. It's just really, really nice. Very intricate. Yes, Deborah says you can leave that gap. It uses more chain, but gives a different texture. For sure. The only thing is, if you do wear it, you have to be careful because it could be easily crushed, so that you may end up with an accidental dent on the chain if it's not securely around whatever object that you're trying to form it around. So I'm scrolling up to see some questions if there are any. Many of you said you got a junk drawer. You gotta do it. You gotta just go through the junk drawer, find your beads, make it happen. Now you could just add in your cap. You could see everything is not moving as it probably would if I just had those loose beads on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and string on both very nicely. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. I love that little subtle pop of color that you can get with just the two different metals. And then I'm going to add in my bead. And then I'm going to actually crimp it directly to my pendant here on this one end. There we go. All right. It's looking really good. It's very simple, I must say, but I think it's just a really wow piece that you could really throw on with anything, especially multiple necklaces, which would be a really fun idea. Okay, how many of you have used the magical crimpers yet? Perhaps not many of you many of you maybe just prefer to use the regular crimps. I like the magical crimpers a lot, but it took me a second to finally figure out why I'm getting the crimps that I am. And a lot of it depends on making sure that the crimp is fully stuffed with wire. So I actually put in a third strand of wire in there, fit very easily. And now whenever I crimp with just that one notch, I get something that's going to look very, very good each time. It took me a while to figure that out, that the crimp needs to be really stuffed in order for it to work correctly. So it's my little takeaway that I hope you guys will find useful. But it is very secure. There's just the one notch, and you basically just keep going around and around until it compresses into a little ball. And then you could just trim it back accordingly. Perfect. So I'll do the same thing to this side now. There we go. Donna, you said that the wire wrapping technique you taught us has been a game changer for me. That's awesome. I mean, it was a really, I'm not a professional wire wrapper, I could tell you that. But I do know some easy ways to design around that, I guess. So I'm glad that the tips from that class helped you. And it was my pleasure to teach it as well. It was a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward. I think if you like that design, you're gonna love the Seaside Santorini project, because that one's also another one where I'm gonna cheat wire cheat wire wrapping. Okay. Crimping here. Okay, so that works like that. I can string it through, there we go. And then we've got our pendant down here. So that's really pretty. It's, again, just super, super subtle. I'm really using the chain here to make that necklace rope really textured. I measured it to have it staggered ever so slightly, and it looks like I just need to cut it right here. So whenever I turn the camera back on me, I'll show you what this looks like, and it's whenever it's layered together as a necklace. What I can do, because my idea for this layering was really just to add this in here at the top. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even know that this pointed down, actually. So you know what I could do is change up my design just a little bit, I think. Because I was thinking that it would go across, but it's not. That's interesting. So let me think. Oh, you know what? Duh, I could just turn this whole thing around and just do it this way. Let's hit the easy button today. And we can put a clasp on those ends that we cleared out as well. So, but what we need to do is to make sure that this is going to fall through. So I'm thinking that you could use a head pin, absolutely. I'm going to make one while I have this wired out, though. You guys remember how to make the Sarah Ellis head pin? That's what I call it. You basically turn this around a couple times, and then you string it through where you just coiled it. And then you take your nylon jaw pliers and then basically just put on it while holding this. Here we go. Easy peasy. I love that little knot at the end. And now my bead is not going to fall through. That is cute. Okay, we're going to go with it. We're doing it. Okay, I'm going to do a little like wire wrap action here, I think. So I'll create my little loop there. I'm going to break the neck before completing my loop here. But I'm going to also slide in my large chain link there before I end up securing all this. Okay. And I'm just going to do a nice big, like, messy wire wrap over here. Easy peasy. I love how, I don't know, just it looks very dainty and decorative. I think that's what I'm going for tonight. Yes, it could be, Sherry says, tassel or bead at the end of the triangle. Definitely, yeah, you could absolutely add that. I think it might be a little bit much if I'm trying to layer it with this other necklace that I finished up. So, but if you were to wear it by itself, definitely, yeah. Absolutely. All right. Okay, that looks really good. I just need to add my jump rings and my clasp to this. And we're gonna check it out and see if everything fits together nicely. I'll probably go back and put an antique gold clasp on this, so I was somewhat prepared. Instead of the shiny gold, because I don't think the shiny gold quite works with this particular design. Just subtle details for later to help me finish it out once I get it assembled. Ooh, you guys. In that. I don't know if I've got any out, otherwise I'd love to show you what that would look like. Well, you get the idea though. But this is really, really cool and super wearable. They could be worn together or separately, because this looks great all by itself. And let me show you what this close-up of this necklace looks like as well. So this is what we made. Really pretty. Love, love, love all this texture that's happening. It's so unusual, and you would think that someone would have spent time knitting out all this stuff. But lucky for us, we got that nice little cheat button known as Hollow Mesh to make this. And again, just 3mm check glass. You can catch my Tuesday tutorials every Tuesday from 3:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, or 6:30 to 7:30 if you're on the East Coast, on both YouTube and Facebook.